Well, this is what it's resorted to. I've run out of tea bags, and all I've got left is Karen's herbal tea that was hiding in the corner of the van. Desperate times, desperate times. Well, good evening, everybody. A little colder here. We've come back up into the mountains. So, ended up meeting Gavin just outside of Canmore, and we've decided to come up back into the Kananaskis. Looks like they've got some fresh snow up in the mountains there. And the last time I talked to him, we were supposed to meet in this parking lot. So I'm just waiting for him and Amanda. And in the meantime, I'm cooking up a storm here, my staple dinner, which is probably sounds horrible, but it actually tastes pretty good. So I get sausages, just kind of cut them up, put them in some boiling water, and then I'll throw in some kind of vegetable. In this case, just a bunch of broccoli, and then the piece de resistance. The finish is these lovely spicy shin noodles, which are really spicy, with a nice chili powder to go in there to hide any flaws in the taste. So looks like it's almost ready, almost time to put this in. Hopefully it won't overflow. Oh, look at that, eh? I think I've even got a lid down here somewhere. There we go, and we just let that stew for not too long, because I don't like the broccoli to be all mushy. I like it firm, but you know, little slightly soft. The next morning, we all got up bright and early and headed over to an overlook that was just down the road from where we camped. Now, unfortunately, I wasn't really excited about the light that we were getting, so I only took one photograph, and I didn't really feel like vlogging the shoot. But here's the photograph, and then from here we headed over to Banff National Park to try and find some more autumn color. We're in the Bow Valley, which is the Highway 1A, which runs parallel to the main highway, and it's a bit of a quieter drive, a slower drive, and you can kind of potter around and look for things to photograph. And this is, as you can see, it's more or less just a picnic area, but there is some great fall color here, and I think this is actually going to turn out quite well. I've decided to go with a 65 by 24 pano, so I'm just including the middle of the trunks here, and of course the autumn color. Unfortunately, I can't separate all the trees like I keep talking about, trying to separate trees from one another so they're not overlapping, because there's quite a bunch of them. There are quite a few that overlap, but I don't know, I think it's going to work. The color will certainly pull it through, that's for sure. Let me show you quickly what I have. So as you can see, I've more or less filled the frame with all of these trunks, and then we just have the autumn color in there. So there isn't really a center of interest other than perhaps the autumn color in the middle here, but all the rest just kind of fills the frame. It's a pattern of trees, and yeah, I think it works pretty good. So the exposure, let's have a look here. Hi there. How's it going, mate? Exposure is f16 and 1.6 of a second, ISO 100. Now I've got it at -6 just to bring the highlights down just a tad, so that we're not going to blow any out. And you can see by the histogram here that everything's more or less in the mid-range, perhaps slightly left of the center. So I mean, we can also, let's see here. If you're not sure how to use the histogram, I can just show you quickly here. It's very easy. So here is the histogram here, and This end of the curve represents the shadows, and this end of the curve represents highlights. So if you look at this number here, right now we have a -1. So if I bring it up to 0, which is average meter reading, you can see that everything's lying in between the shadows and the highlights. If I was clipping, so let's bring this way up, you can see now that because I've brought it up plus 4.3 stops, everything's over on the right, which are the highlights, so it's going to be way overexposed. So let's just zoom out a little bit here. Just focus here. So let's take a photograph at that so you can see what the photograph looks like. Now that was a really long exposure, and as you can see, there's nothing there because it's a 25-second exposure. So if you are using your histogram, so let's try +1, so we're at 2.5 seconds. Let's see how that looks. Now the exposure, we can look at the histogram afterwards as well. And it's pretty good, but it's slightly overexposed for my taste, so I'd probably go down lower than that. So what I'm going to do here is just bring this down to -0.3. And you can see that, whoops, let's just get rid of that. You can see that the exposure is pretty much spot on, just taking an average reading. If there were lots of highlights in there, then I would probably, like I did before, bring it down just a tad so that we're not blowing out any of those highlights. So making an exposure reading is very easy with a mirrorless camera or a DSLR, especially the fact that you can just view the images afterwards, and if it looks too dark, then just brighten it up. If it looks too bright, then just darken it up a bit. The only thing that I recommend is that you not blow out your highlights, and what I mean by that is not overexpose those bright areas, because once you do that, you've lost all detail in those highlights and you can never bring them back. With the shadows, it's a little bit different. You can always bring them back up a little bit. Depending on the camera that you have, like the smaller sensors, if you bring up the shadows, then it can get quite noisy. With the larger format cameras like this one, it's not such a big deal. All right, I'm a bit cheeky here because I know I'm stealing Gavin's shot here. Actually, I did notice this when I came here, but Gavin's been here a little bit longer than me, and he was all set up, so I didn't want to stand right next to him and do the same shot. Basically, what I have here is this very prominent pointy peak with some pretty decent light on it, and it's surrounded by aspen that are in full color, so it makes a great frame. It's a really nice shot. I do wish that there were a few more clouds surrounding the peak, but you know, you've got to kind of take what you get. But yeah, it makes a nice little image. I'm going to make some verticals and horizontals too. I'll show you what I have really quickly. All right, so I've brightened up the image just a little bit so you can see what I'm looking at here. So the peak will look a little bit overexposed. But as you can see, it's a very simple composition. I wish I could include the bottom of the trees, but the road's somewhat in the way. And so if I point the camera down just a little bit, you can see that the road is right there. So that's about the best I can do. Unless I stand right in the middle of the road, and actually you'll see a car go right by, right there. So it's It's not exactly a big hike getting around here. Yeah, that's pretty nice right there. So what I'm doing is I'm just going to expose for the peak. I'm going to bring it down to -1, -1.3, expose for the highlights, and then I'll just bring the shadows up in post-processing. So let's see how that goes. We'll just have a quick look at that. So you can see that even at 1.3, the top of the peak is slightly overexposed. So I'll bring that down to 1.6. Give that a go. And it's a little bit out, but I think I can probably recover that. You can see I've got the, you can see just in the top of the peak here, it's blinking. I have the highlight warning on. So just to be safe, I'm going to bring it down to -2 stops. Now, of course, the foreground will be very dark. But again, like I said, with the medium format, it's very easy to bring up those shadows without affecting the photograph negatively. If you're doing this with a smaller format, perhaps a crop sensor or anything like that, then you might have to take a couple of exposures, one for the shadows and then one for the highlights, and then combine them in Lightroom, which is very easy to do. But yeah, that's a nice little shot there. Thanks, Gavin. So Gavin, I noticed that you were at the end there checking out a composition that I took earlier.
No, it's you must be using a time machine because you took yours after mine. All rights reserved.
Copyright infringement. That was a nice comp.
Well, thank you. I appreciate your...
Well, I did see it, but you know, whatever.
Yeah, half an hour after I shot
I
it.
could either stand next to and take the same shot as we did this morning, or...
I think I've even got video footage of you walking past going... and you can see that moment. That's what I'm going to do in the edit. I'm going to say, freeze frame, and this is the moment. Where he thought, I'm going to have that.
Actually, that might be good in the skit.
I'm going to do it.
I'll be looking...
That's exactly what I'm going to do. In fact, maybe I'll get you to do your voice. You could do a little voiceover in there. And this was the moment I decided I was stealing that shot.
That's pretty nice here. It's difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, it's always challenging. It's forest photography and it's always difficult.
Right.
But no wind, just totally still leaves, and I just love that combo of silver bark on the trees and then the yellow leaves.
It's weird how the ones in front of the truck here are different colours to the ones behind us.
I wonder why that is.
Maybe because they get more sun?
Yeah, so maybe
bleach out.
The ones that are closest to the road has a bit more of a clearing, yeah. You're right, they bleach out.
Because these aren't the same as the aspens in Colorado, are they? Those are really white
and a very orange canopy as well.
And what's the weird rough bark at the bottom? I heard that it was from elk, but I don't think it is.
Well, I don't think that they cover these ones. So have you seen those trees where they put like a skirt on the bottom? I assume that's to protect it from the snow in the winter.
Or beaver?
No, I don't think so. No, because they were doing it out in the desert as well. But they're not going to do that to 10,000 trees, are they? So it can't be that. Yeah, I don't know, mate. I thought you were the...
No, I thought it was from animals, but it wouldn't be on every single tree.
No,
But it seems to be at the same height.
Yeah.
Rough bark on every tree.
I like it though, it adds another element.
Well, this Osmo getting really heavy.
I kind of miss the old Osmo. It's super light.
Hold it like that.
Oh, that's a bit...
lame.
Literally.
Well, I actually got a vlog out of this, so...
Did you?
Thanks for watching.
Did you not vlog this morning?
No.
Oh, man, that was a brilliant shoot. You should have vlogged. I did. I vlogged this morning.
Well, they'll all watch yours anyway.
Well, it's mostly you in my video.
Pretty much.
That's how it seems to go, and I just put in the.
Well, you're in my video now.
Yeah, it's a red treat. Like and subscribe.
Yeah.
To my channel.
All right. Well, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video.
Outside the outhouse.
Yeah. It's a new outhouse, and it just absolutely stinks here, so it kind of ruins the experience. All right. That's enough of that. Oh, good morning, everybody. I'm just on my way home, and usually on my way home, if I have to spend the night somewhere, I'll just find a quiet spot. It could either be a logging road or a pullover. In this case, it's a small rest area, and the road I'm on heading back home is very quiet. There wasn't any traffic here last night, so it's a nice place to sleep. Except it's very, very dark and kind of creepy. So, of course, in the middle of the night, I had to get up and, take a pee, do my business, and I couldn't find my headlamp. So I managed to find my phone and put the lamp on with my phone. And I thought, I'm not going out there without my headlamp, because it was really dark. I couldn't see a thing. So I'm looking around, and I couldn't find my headlamp. And I think, well, I'm not going out there unless I find my headlamp. Finally, I found my headlamp. So I gingerly opened the sliding door and stuck my head out and looked around, and I couldn't see anything. So I didn't go more than 5 feet from the van. And of course, while you're taking a pee, you're looking around because it's creepy. And sure enough, about 25 feet away from me is a big bloody black bear. So I had my lamp on the bear, and I'm staring at the bear, and he's staring at my lamp, I guess, while I'm in mid-pee. And then he all of a sudden, he took off up the hill a little bit, but he didn't go very far. He only went about 5 or 10 feet. So I've still got my eye on this bear while I'm trying to get my pee done. And then he was getting a little bit aggressive. He was starting to huff and puff and starting to kind of move around quite a bit, and I'm trying to hurry up, take my pee. Finally, I got my pee done and jumped in the van really quickly and slammed the door and locked it. So it was quite funny, actually, standoff with the black bear. So, of course, I rummaged around for my my bear spray, just in case I needed to get up again in the middle of the night. And then I thought, well, the problem with bear spray, it has an expiry date. And I looked it up before I left, actually. The expiry date isn't really the chemicals inside. The chemicals inside don't expire. It's actually the aerosol or the propellant, because they can deteriorate after a while. And of course, after so much time, they just, you push the button and nothing will happen. So I have an old can here. This is... Actually, this one's not as old as the other one. Another issue is the size of the can. My understanding is that the larger the can, the more aerosol, so it's less likely to break down as quick as, say, the smaller cans like this one. So I thought I'd give one a go just to see how far it'll spread. So let's have a look here. Okay, I had to find my glasses because I couldn't see the dates on these. These actually aren't that old. One has expired a year ago, and the other one's still got a little bit of life left in it until it expires. It expires at the end of this year. So I'll take the one that hasn't expired. That has expired. And I just want to see how far, or if it still has enough propellant in there to keep it going. So I'll just put this on the picnic table over here, and we'll give it a spray and see if it works. Well, it still works pretty good. But as you can see, and actually it's not a bad idea to practice with one of these, an expired one, if you've never used one before, just to kind of give you an idea of what the range is on these. just make sure that you're standing upwind from it, otherwise you're going to get it in the face, and that could be really painful. Basically, you more or less have to have a bear right on top of you before this will actually work. I'm guessing probably it'll start to activate around 20 feet to 15 feet, which is pretty damn close to a bear. But you use it as a last resort. But it's interesting because this is expired a year ago, and the propellant is still good. So that's not to say that every can that you get is going to react the same, but it's good to know that when it does expire, you've probably got a little bit of life in it before you have to go and spend another $50 on one of these. Anyway, it was quite interesting. It was kind of a fun story. Well, it wasn't fun at the time, but afterwards it's always fun to talk about wildlife encounters, and this was just another one to put in the old storybook. Thank you ever so much for watching this week's video. I really appreciate it. If you did enjoy it, please be sure to give me the old thumbs up, as it helps greatly. If you'd like to support my channel in other ways, be sure to head on over to kozubooks.com, where I have a 2022 calendar for sale. I also have my third printing of Quiet Light, and lastly, Aspen, a zine or small portfolio of images that I took at Abraham Lake in the Canadian Rockies last autumn. So go check it out at kozubooks.com. Thanks ever so much, everybody. Bye-bye.